Hi, I'm Jeremy Warrener. I am one of the charter members of the Rotary Club of World Disability Advocates. I am from the United States, Indianapolis, Indiana specifically. I am a burn survivor and a bilateral above knee amputee. Um, I've been a person with a disability for 16 years. In addition to the physical disabilities that I acquired in my car accident from the severe burns. Over those 16 years, I have also acquired severe sleep apnea as a result of the reduced physical activity in my life. And I've also developed anxiety, which in and of itself can be a disability. My background is in hotel and restaurant management, so my focus has always been on hospitality. But as I realized that working in the hotel industry was very frustrating as I was trying to deal with very petty complaints that people were making about waiting 5 minutes to check into a room, or somebody else being served food who came into the restaurant after them before they got their food. I started to branch out to talk about what it's like to acquire a disability, and developed my own business as an inspirational speaker, a hospitality, accessibility, and outreach consultant. And I spend a lot of my time focused on educating organizations and individuals in my community here in Indianapolis and throughout Indiana and the United States about what it is like to acquire a disability and how important it is to include people with disabilities in our society by removing the barriers that at a social level have kept them from accessing the world. Medically, we can accommodate our disabilities. Socially, we need society to remove those barriers that they've put in place that prevent us from accessing them. I have seen, even in the United States, where we have legislation like the Americans with Disabilities Act, how important it is for people with disabilities to raise their voices and use their voices to strive towards equity in terms of human rights for people with disabilities and really everybody around the world. One of the first things that I learned when I became a person with a disability and found myself sitting in a wheelchair in a clinic in a county hospital was that disabilities don't discriminate. Disabilities cross every single demographic, every single border. Disabilities themselves are more diverse than the populations on the planet. And one of the more recent things that I have learned 16 years down the road is how people with disabilities, in fact, make up a global culture that has its own history, a history of oppression, a history of suspicion, a history of insult and injury, and a history that actually should be shared, and that at a global level, we need to recognize that people with disabilities make up their own diverse culture that is in fact the largest minority in the world. That's why it's so important that we look at where the progress has been made from a legislative standpoint, from a social standpoint, to embracing people with disabilities as a part of culture and opening up pathways for true equity. And true equity means people with disabilities not only being welcome at the table, but being a voice in leadership at the table. And that's every table, whether it's in your home or in your business or in your community or in your nation. And so as we talk about that, it really means recognizing that disability rights are human rights, A person with a disability doesn't have special rights because they are a person with a disability. Their disability, in fact, makes it harder for them to access and enjoy the human rights. And when we talk about human rights, that really means having the right to independently make decisions for yourself about how you live, about where you live, about who you live with, about how you access the world. It's about people having not only that right of independence, but a society that provides the access for them to enjoy that right of independence. And that truly, it's about having a right to dignity and a right to respect, and a right to life and everything that goes along with life. Um, Feeding, eating, loving, being part of life with the people that we are surrounded by. Um, that's what human rights really is to me. And that's why it is so important that we understand the diversity of disabilities and that we learn to accommodate that not only within our small little bubbles, but at a global scale. Because the more that we are able to engage people with disabilities, the more whole our human experience truly is.